Welcome to Woodland Corpses, my little horror podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you've been busy. Like I keep up with you on Instagram, but I was just checking up on your your newsletter, and I'm like, Todd has been very busy lately.
Yes, I have. Uh,
So,
Real
le-
life stuff needed attention, so
well, like, I mean, well, because Sundowner's Dance came out last year, in case
yeah,
anybody doesn't know. Um, and then the paperback is coming out July 7th. And
correct.
then you have Simon's Quest with Shortwave coming
hmm
out next year. And then you've got other stuff going on. Do you want to talk
Yeah,
about it?
I have a novel. It's the follow-up to Devil's Creek. It's called Revelation Road. It's currently being shopped around right now. So hopefully, if any publishers out there are interested in taking a look, please get in contact with my agent because it really like for it to get a home and get out there because I'm really excited for people to read it.
Yeah. I haven't read um Devil's Creek. Shame on me. Um
Yes.
But my TBR is just like an endless list that never stops growing. Um so I guess that's going to push me to read Devil's Creek
Well,
sooner
Devil's Creek,
rather than later.
yeah, Devil's Creek is kind of the centerpiece of a shared universe in my stories. I call it Southland mythos,
Yeah.
and Sundowner's Dance is actually a part of that. Uh, can't really say any more about that without spoiling stuff, but like, every piece of short fiction I do in some way ties in exists in that sandbox, basically.
Yeah, I saw
Uh,
your little web that you had started to make
yeah,
of the universe. Tell me
yeah,
about that. That's cool.
that's an ongoing project that is going to take quite a while to complete. But as I get older and my memory gets more and more holes in it, I realize that I need like a central database of characters, places, events, timelines, and everything to keep track of, references to, oh, this story references 10 other properties that I have. And, just to keep things straight and
Mm.
unified. So, uh, I I'm taking like the style guides that my editor Amelia compiles for me with every book. So she breaks down like every character, every place, every event, concepts, and just in an Excel file. My friend and fellow author Kat Delaney is currently she's a self-professed Excel nerd. So she is taking that data and putting it into a prettier, more accessible sheet that I have access to, my agent has access to, and my editor has access to. But I'm taking that a step further and using a program called Obsidian, which is basically like a build your own wiki kind of software, but it allows you
Cool.
to visually, see a map of, it's like little planets and stars, and you can see
Yeah.
like all the things orbiting this big planet of Devil's Creek. And that's what I'm because that book is massive. It's taking me quite a while to go through that, and I'm just working on that in my spare time. Um, so the idea is eventually like I'll have every major entry in every short story that ties in the Southland mapped out so I can see, oh, maybe I want to write a story about this guy's grandfather who encountered this, 70 years ago and have it still be
Yeah.
canonically accurate.
Yeah.
So that's like a, spare time thing, which, who has that really? Spare time
Yeah.
forming
That's
concept.
cool though. I love that because I guess like I don't know it it beats the note cards and yarn.
Yeah.
It's always
I
sunny in
feel it.
Philadelphia. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel a bit
Um
like Charlie in that meme.
That's immediately what I thought. I was like, this is in depth. Um, but it reminds me of like, well, I mean, I keep saying, so I'm from the East Coast, and I've talked about this before with other people. I was born and raised in New Jersey and spent most of my time in between New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And I'm like, I'm finding that most of my favorite authors all live in that area of
It's
like
kind of weird, isn't it?
it's like you and Sam Rebeline and Saratoga Schaefer and Clay McLeod Chapman and like everybody is all over there, and I'm like, we're in the Midwest, man. But it's funny because I was like, um, I saw your little web and it reminded me of Sam's Edenville universe.
Yeah,
And I'm like, I love when authors do that because it feels like you're like part of a universe, you're part of this like bigger thing. And it's cool to just kind of like follow different character lines and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, interesting. I
yeah.
thought that was
And
cool.
shout out to Sam for being awesome. I'm so proud of him. Like,
Dude,
just he is soaring, and I just makes me giddy because, like, I remember him coming to AuthorCon one year before his book was even out, and like he came up to me and said some nice things, and I asked him, so and he mentioned he was a writer, so I asked him what he'd written, and he told me about Edenville, and I was like, that's right up my alley. I have to read this. And it was bonkers in the best possible way. And so I got to blurb that one, his first debut. I'm really happy that I can do that.
yeah.
And I look forward to what he's got going next. I have Galloway's Gospel loaded up on my Kindle. So I haven't
That
had a chance to dig into that one yet.
that was fun. It's funny because I kind of went in backwards. I read Poorly Made and Other Things first.
Okay.
And I was like, this is weird and I love it. And I think right after that, like Galloway's Gospel was being published, and I read that. And so he's been on my little show, and but
Yeah.
yeah, and then finding the the little club that y'all have, not that it's a club, but like you're the nicest, most like compassionate, cool, chill people, you know? So I mean, like I don't know, it's like you're normal, whatever normal is, you know? So like it's just nice to talk to um just y'all in general, I guess. It's hard to
Yeah,
explain.
it's that's an epiphany I had early on in my career is that, as I got to know more of the people, my peers in the horror industry, we're all actually pretty cool, chill people. We try to weed out drama where possible. Just
Yeah.
you get along with each other. And, it's people don't realize it, but horror is a very small pond and everybody kind of knows everybody
Yeah.
to some degree
Yeah.
or the other. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun.
I love that. It's I like you're like solidly anti-fascist. I love your merch on your website. I've seen pictures with you with your Appalachian anti-fascist shirt.
Yeah,
Um and I feel like there is this through line in the horror that I enjoy with the authors that I enjoy, that it's like the commonality is like you're all for human rights, obviously, but it's like I don't know if I can say it's unique to horror. It is just more prevalent in horror. And I always come back to like horror is just like a reflection of the world. Like art in itself is a reflection of the world.
yeah,
Art imitates life. Stuff, you know. But like for me, like, is that what you found is that like the horror community is more empathetic, tuned in, or
I think so.
reflective. Yeah.
Uh, in generally, yes. Um, I mean, you do have the occasional outliers who are on the other side of the fence. And, you know, it doesn't tend to go well for them when they're outed as being, hardcore conservative or, fascist leaning or anti-LGBTQ plus.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that generally speaking, we do tend to be anti all of that because it's very much anti-establishment.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff we're writing about is coming from internally somewhere, and it's coming from experience, or it's coming from secondhand experience, someone they care
Mm.
about, and I'm fortunate to have many friends who various colors and creeds and beliefs and sexualities. I don't want anything bad to happen. I'm not, I'm very much against people trying to take their rights away.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. It's like that's the very horrors that we write about in fiction, and here it is happening in reality. And so I think that horror to me is very much like the underdog of a literary world. Like we're not understood. We're not by people who aren't, by the muggles out there. I know that's a potentially charged term because of who came up with it, but the
Yeah,
first
but
word that comes to mind, the, you know, the outsiders, so to speak,
yeah.
the people who aren't in the scene don't, they kind of see us as the bad kids or the weird ass kids. And,
Yeah.
guess what? Most of us have been the weird kids. We still are. I am absolutely a strange motherfucker. So
100%.
yeah, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
have it any other way. And I think that that's why, as a lot of us get older and continue on our publishing journeys, the newer upstarts are coming to us saying, I read this and it opened my eyes and made me realize I could write this way, or I felt the same way and didn't know it at the time.
Mhm.
Uh, so to come back around, I mean, generally speaking, yeah, we are all very anti-fascism, you know, just anti-prejudices,
Yeah.
because, there's enough of that horrors in the real world. We don't want to see that, in our group, among our friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Like to me
um,
is like horror is punk.
yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, it's a punk
Yeah.
scene. It's essentially like if you study music history and stuff, and you look at the punk movement, it's very much a punk genre. And I'm not even that much of a punk fan, but I
Yeah.
respect the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Black Flag and Henry Rollins all day, every day.
Yeah.
Uh, it, I could definitely, I'm sure if someone hasn't written it, someone very well could. I nominate Brian Keene to do this because he's got a vast, knowledge of music. To write like a thesis or an essay or something on the correlation between the punk rock scene and the horror scene.
Yeah.
Definitely could see the correlations there.
I would read that. Yeah. I mean, also to me, like, and I don't know if this is a hot take or not hot take, but like punk is an attitude, punk is a belief system. You could
Yeah.
like not even listen to the music and still be considered punk, at least in my eyes, like for the way you are. Like just people who believe in human rights and empathy and fight for, those with less privilege than them. That's super punk,
Yeah.
and then it's like, all right, if you don't like the music or whatever, cool, but like you're still punk to me. Like I will adopt you as punk. Um
Okay.
but speaking of weird, your vacation, uh note to your neighbors that you left on Instagram. I I was laughing so hard at that. I was like, "Oh my God." Like his neighbors, your neighbors have got to be like either really cool or or
Yeah,
like
my neighbors are cool. I actually talked to them a couple of days ago. The first time I'd seen them since we got back, and she she said I took a screenshot of that and sent that to my girlfriend, and just said, "Tell me you live next to a horror writer without telling me you live next to a horror writer." Like, well, there you go. I said, so you didn't see anybody with their faces on upside down or anything like that? It's like, no, unfortunately.
darn. Oh, like, look, we don't need anything else right now.
Yeah.
Cosmic horrors are already happening. We don't need more of them. Oh my God. Um, I was gonna ask you something. I totally forget what it was. Oh, so like you're an artist, obviously. I had no idea until I looked through your merch store today and I was like, have these prints always been here? I did not know that you did all of like have you done all of your own cover art on top? Because like
No,
no?
no. So when I was first getting started, like most of what I do is design. Like I'm creating text, layout, and
Yeah.
everything. Occasionally I'll create the art myself, but I'm trying to get away from doing that on my own books just because I want to give other artists the opportunity to do that. Plus I'm lazy. So
No.
it's one less thing I'll have to worry about.
Yeah.
But no, like I have created covers for my books, generally like when I was really getting started in the indie world. Because I originally started self-publishing way back
Hmm.
when, the early aughts actually, when it was less accepted.
Yeah.
Um and I'm very particular, like if I have a vision, I tend to I like to find artists that kind of we have the similar wavelength, and those are the artists that I want to tap to work on my stuff. But like in the beginning, like indie publishers, didn't they were looking to save a buck and went with artists that maybe weren't that great, to
Yeah.
be honest. And other times, like in the case of the Devil's Creek cover, an old friend of mine who's since passed, Frank Arrington, book reviewer. Um, Tagged me in an image that Australian author and artist Greg Chapman had created.
Hmm.
Um, and it was the red scene with the sky, and there was like a zombie figure, like, still kind of like overlaid at the top, but there was a church. And Frank tagged that. He had read like the first draft of Devil's Creek, and he's like, "This is your cover." And I'm like, "Holy shit, you're right." I contacted Greg, and I bought that piece from him, and then I did some Photoshop trickery to kind of crunch it up
Yeah.
and did the layout on top of it. And, you know, I tend to do a lot of that just because it, these days I prefer to be working creatively written form
Hmm.
just because that's the career I'm trying to grow.
Yeah.
I do also have a day, well, as I'm self-employed, I run Precipice Books LLC and do business as Dellington Design Co. I'm pretty much almost exclusively working with Bad Hand Books, doing all the layouts and formatting for their books, uh, and have like, creative input on how that goes together. And, but I am open for commissions. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, it the because you did the cover for the Arterial Bloom
yeah,
anthology, which that is just a wicked image. Um,
thank you.
and one of the other ones that I was looking through, I'm like, how did I not know that Todd did all of these things?
I,
And
yeah.
I was just like, I love the department store gods one. That one is freaky. And I'm like, honey, I
Yeah,
need to get a copy of this and put it
that's
on the wall.
that's one of my experiments with like pre-mades. I made like a handful of them and decided, I'd rather do these, on spec for people.
Yeah,
But department store gods might be my favorite of those.
it's my
Uh,
favorite.
yeah,
It's just so creepy and weird and just atmospheric. And I'm like, I don't know how I can get that much from that's what you've done is you've given that much that I can get that much out of a phone screen. And I'm like, oh, this is creepy, you know? So
thank you.
yeah, I I am excited. I am excited that I have stumbled onto, hey, look at all of this stuff that you also do. Um, and then you mentioned Bad Hand Books. So they just did reissues of Devil's Creek and
Cold
Cold
Black and
Black and
Infinite.
Infinite.
Yeah.
So what was that just like because I don't know who they were published by before, but like,
Oh, that's a story,
oh
man.
God.
Uh,
Is it an interesting story or
oh yeah, it's an interesting story and it's a cautionary tale.
okay. Okay.
So, Devil's Creek was originally published by Silver Shamrock Publishing. Silver Shamrock went out of business in 2022 during the first AuthorCon. I
Okay.
was happened to be in the right place at the right time. My buddy Kevin Lucia had just started his new editing job at Cemetery Dance. He approached me, said, "I want it. You know, let's make it happen."
Yeah.
So I signed a two-book deal with Cemetery Dance. Devil's Creek was one of them. They got re-released, and then Cold Black and Infinite came out in the fall of 2023.
Mhm.
And so fast forward 2 years, and I had never been paid on time. And I would eventually get paid, but I had to chase it down every time. And
Mhm.
I finally got fed up because the last time up until that moment in 2025, it was the week the Sundowners Dance came out in April of last year.
Yeah.
Until that moment, the last time I had been paid, because I got paid twice a year, it was late by 2 months. And we're not talking like insignificant amounts of money. My books were selling very well, and
Yeah.
I was bringing in a lot of money for Cemetery Dance. So if they were running their operation correctly, that money would have been set aside and issued by their accountant,
Mhm.
on time every time. But that's not the case.
Mm.
So I got fed up and it was 3 weeks late when I got fed up with it. And it was just a bad day, bad time, bad week. Like one of my cats I thought was going to have surgery. And I'm looking at my bank account. I'm like, there's no way in hell I can afford this. So I started looking at, okay, what money am I owed?
Yeah.
And so I asked, where's my money, basically? And Richard Chismar, the owner of Cemetery Dance, uh, laughed at me essentially and mocked me for asking. And that was just the
Oh.
wrong thing to say to me at the wrong possible time. So I screenshotted it, took it public. He doubled down on what he said, called me a funny little man. And it was that then he tried to walk it back and delete his message, but I had already captured it, and other people had too. And word spread, and to this day, I don't know why people continue supporting him, to be honest. Don't give him your money. It's a scam artist.
Well, I'm glad
Uh,
you said, I'm glad you're talking about this
yeah.
because I personally didn't know. Like, I don't really engage with
Yeah.
Cemetery Dance, but I know who Richard Chismar is. Um, but I didn't know. And I'm like, I'm chronically on Instagram. It's just, I think I end up on the the non-drama side of
No, no, it's
Instagram.
good. Like it's I don't like it when things like this spill over into the public, but the public going
Yeah.
public seemed like the only way to, get his attention. And I have since spoken to other cemetery dance authors, former and current, who have talked about their issues. And some of the stories I've heard wouldn't believe some of the authors either. Uh, so I try to walk a fine line here because there are still authors with Cemetery Dance and absolutely support them.
Yeah, yeah,
But I encourage people not to support Richard Chismar with his own personal,
yeah, yeah.
because because he doesn't run his business correctly and it hurts. He apparently doesn't give a shit about the impact it has on the authors who depend on that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for addressing that because
No problem.
I am always one where we want to support the people in the community who
Yeah,
deserve the support. And if somebody is harming more people than they are helping, that's not a good sign.
yeah, yeah. So after pretty much the day that blew up,
Yeah.
and it went viral, which Jesus Christ, it went viral. um, I like heard from people that it got as far back as to Stephen King, kind of said I'm not getting involved. Um, but hey, cool, Stephen King has heard my name before. Awesome. Uh, but that same day, I've known Doug Morano for years now. We,
Mm,
worked, I've worked with him. So, he published a story of mine in The Hideous Book of Hidden Horrors. Bad Hand was first getting started. I worked with him before that on other things. And he called me and he's like, "Hey, is there anything I can do?" And I said, "As a matter of fact, you know, would you be willing to reconsider taking on Devil's Creek and Cult Black Infinite?" And he said, "Let's do it."
nice.
And it I kept following up with this situation. Devil's Creek, I think, is a curse novel, but the sales tend to say otherwise. Um, and I'm happy that and fortunate and grateful to Doug for taking them on when he did. So Devil's Creek, Cold Black and Infinite both came out in March of this year. They're out there, they're available in stores, they have actual distribution instead of whatever kind of shit that Cemetery Dance has, which was
Yeah.
not actual distribution, I later found out. Um, and they're out there and available for consumption. I encourage everyone to go buy them.
Yeah, I like Bad Hand. Support Bad Hand. They're a cool company. I don't know if I've followed them for very long. I'm trying to think of who it was. Somebody had recommended them, and I was like, sweet, indie publisher. Cool, because it's like I follow a lot of indie publishers like Shortwave and oh my gosh, Stelliform Press. They're really good. Um Laughing Man. Did I miss something else? Well, somebody was like, "Yeah, Bad Hand Publishing is cool." And I'm like, when I saw that your books were getting re-released through that, I was like, "Nice!" Like, because I mean, honestly, I hadn't. Sundowner's Dance was the first book of yours I had heard of, and it came out through Shortwave. I hadn't heard of Devil's Creek until I heard about
Okay.
Sundowner's Dance. So that tells you that like yeah, I'm glad you're with Bad Hand now.
Too. Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty fortunate to be with two of the best indie publishers in the horror world right now. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah.
Uh, there are, it's not to say that there aren't others. Splash, there's Raw Dog Screaming Press, uh uh there's a new one, Ruidon Books. I think they're kind of leaning more toward like the supernatural fantasy stuff,
Hmm.
dark thrillers. But that's another one that seems to have the right foundation to grow. A
Yeah.
lot of these smaller indie presses are, as I've learned the hard way, are often fly by night. Hobbyists who don't really know how to run a business,
Yeah.
and that the problems that occur because of that mentality. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, and that's no good for you. I mean, like I know it's like I was excited when I found out you were a cat dad, because
Oh, yeah. I've got
because
one right in front of me. You can't see him, but he's right here.
we are the crazy cat people, and I love it.
It's true.
How many cats do you have?
I have four cats.
Four?
Yes. One is a tuxedo. He's my oldest. His name is Balthazar, or Czar, as we call him. Our next oldest is an orange tabby by the name of Obi, which is short for Oberon. Uh, our next youngest is Ophelia, and she's my baby girl. She's my Princess Donut if I'm dungeon crawler Carl. Uh,
Nice.
she's my manager. She tells me when it's time for bed, when to get up, you know. She's a white Persian, not Persian, uh Turkish Angora, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
She's a white
I saw her picture on your
Yeah.
Instagram then. Yep.
Yeah, you'll
Yes.
see a lot of her on my
She's the
Instagram.
floofy one.
Oh
Yes.
yes. And then our youngest, which is the one sprawled out in front of my keyboard right here, is Nim. He is a Norwegian forest cat, but he was the runt of the litter, so he's not as big as he should be. But he's my little boy, and he's the office goblin.
I love that.
Sometimes you'll see him, you know, in chilling on my printer, which he knows he's not allowed to be on.
He,
And, they're my kids and
yeah,
have been, for more than a decade now. So,
that's us. We have 10.
oh
We
wow.
have 10. Nobody gets 10 cats on purpose. They just found us. We stopped
Mm,
at 4 and then the rest found us. Um, but it's funny you mentioned that your one cat is like your Princess Donut, like your manager, because
mhm.
that would be Smokey to my husband. It's like, okay, it's time to go to bed. Let's go. She'll yell. All right, it's time to
Yeah.
get up. Um, but yeah, I don't know what it is about like horror people and cats because yet again, we're going back to the empathy thing and
Hmm.
the kindness stuff. And I always tell people like cats will teach you about trust, earning trust. They'll teach you consent, because like if cat doesn't want to be touched, woof, you're gonna get smacked. Like
Yep.
a cat will teach you about consent. And I don't know what it is, but I found so many horror people. Like, I mean, obviously there's people who love dogs too. I'm not saying I don't love dogs, but I found so many horror people tend to be cat people, and I don't I would like to know. Let's throw that into the correlation with like horror, punk, and
Okay.
cats.
Definitely a lot of horror cats out there.
Yeah. I don't know what it's it's something about I think really the depth of, I kind of read everything, but I always come back to horror because I feel like it's like the depth of humanity, you know, in whatever way you choose to approach the problems that we have and stuff like that. I feel like horror authors have this understanding about what it truly means to be human. And by that token, you you're more empathetic to animals and then cats just gravitate toward you. That's got to be it.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. Uh, to be a horror writer, you have to have some level of empathy and be willing to explore it. Because otherwise, the whole key is writing characters that people care about so that then you can murder them. And,
Horribly.
that makes the impact that much, better to the reader. And, the ultimate goal is to make the reader feel something.
Yeah.
And, with horror, we tend to, go there. So you definitely have to have, some degree of empathy or learn to have it as you progress as a writer in general.
Yeah. I have found that just speaking with you and like Sundowners Dance, and you've sold me on reading the back catalog, especially now that it's through Bad Hand. Um, but it's just you can tell that you care. You can tell that I think it comes through in your characters. It comes through in Jerry for sure in Sundowner's Dance, which is just a trip. And anybody anybody who hasn't read it yet, it's out in paperback on July 7th if you like paperback. It's already out in hardcover with shortwave. Um, and I'm a broke person, so I only have like 2 more minutes on my Zoom.
Okay, it's okay.
But yeah, this has been amazing. Is there anything? Oh, you have a short story in the Sobello anthology.
Yeah, so below. Yeah.
Sobello in the Taylor Swift anthology that
Yes.
Chris did the cover for.
Uh-huh. I
Yeah.
do. The title is "I Look in People's Windows" after the Taylor Swift song. No, not a Swiftie, and I didn't even listen to the song because I didn't want it to change my idea.
I think that
And I
makes
just
that
ran
better
with it.
though.
I ran with it. It's a origin story for a recurring character in some of my short fiction
Nice.
in the Southland, and I had fun with it. So, I hope people like it.
Nice. Yeah.
The anthology is called "Look What You Made Me Do."
Yeah. And it's got a wicked cover. That's all Chris I
Yeah,
always pronounce.
Chris,
I always Panettiere.
it's Palantir. Yeah,
Okay. I'm like I always butcher his last name, Panettiere.
yeah, he's
Um
a great artist and a fantastic writer.
yeah. He's a pretty cool person. He's really nice. Um any other announcements? Like we want to get Revelation Road to somebody?
Yeah. Uh, Other than that, you know, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Todd Keisling. People out there feel compelled to support me. That would be wonderful. You can always, do with a little extra cash. Who doesn't?
Hmm.
And my website is toddkeisling.com, and I'm on active mostly on Blue Sky and Instagram at Todd Keisling.
Links will be in
So,
the description.
yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. This has been fun.
Yes, thanks for having me.
And go cool off now
Yes,
in
that is the goal.
the heat of Pennsylvania of all wow, already in May. Jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's going to be a long summer.
a little bit. Thanks,
Yeah,
dude. This was
no
fun.
problem. Thank you for having me. I'm glad we could finally connect.
Absolutely. Anytime. Welcome back anytime.
Thank you, McKenna. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.